The phrase "holy war" has been appearing more frequently lately, especially since the conflict in Iran began, something that immediately stood out. At the center of this discussion is the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who has shown a strong interest in the Crusades, medieval conflicts where European forces fought over control of the Holy Land. Hegseth has referenced this era in multiple ways, including tattoos tied to Crusader symbolism, which were even discussed during his 2025 confirmation hearing.
It's a tattoo I have right here, Senator. It's called the Jerusalem Cross. It's a historic Christian symbol. It is a Christian religious symbol.
He has described one of them as the Jerusalem Cross, a historic Christian emblem. His book, American Crusade, and even a chapter titled Make the Crusade Great Again, further highlight this theme. Medieval history is often dismissed as irrelevant today, but in this case it appears to play a role in shaping the worldview of a key government official. And when that official is the U.S. Secretary of Defense, those views can influence global events. Since late February, the war in Iran has resulted in thousands of deaths, rising economic pressure, and continued instability despite ceasefire attempts. So it's worth examining how historical interpretations, especially of the Crusades, might shape modern policy decisions. In past commentary, Hegseth has drawn parallels between today and the 11th century, suggesting that conflict may be unavoidable and framing it in religious and cultural terms. He has expressed the idea of a united front among Christians and allies, emphasizing defense against perceived threats. Now, as Secretary of Defense, he is one of the strongest advocates for military action against Iran. While other officials have raised concerns about the war, Hegseth has remained consistently supportive, so much so that it has reportedly been referred to as Pete's War. Understanding his perspective becomes important in that context. Historically, the Crusades were a series of conflicts, often initiated by the papacy, primarily aimed at controlling Jerusalem, but later expanding across regions. Hegseth's interpretation frames these wars as largely defensive responses to expansion by Islamic powers. However, many historians argue that this view oversimplifies a complex set of events and overlooks key historical dynamics. Critics point out that portraying one side as inherently aggressive creates a distorted narrative. This perspective also connects to Hegseth's personal identity and military background, including symbolic references like the phrase Deus Vult and the Jerusalem Cross. Such imagery has at times been associated with broader ideological interpretations of conflict, including framing modern warfare in terms of historical religious struggles. In speeches and internal addresses, Hegseth has used language that frames current conflicts in moral and existential terms, referring to enemies as forces that must be overcome. He has also emphasized themes of divine support and mission-driven action. This type of framing raises concerns for some observers. If a conflict is viewed not just as geopolitical, but as a broader ideological or religious struggle, it can influence how decisions are made and justified. When conflicts are seen in absolute terms, good versus evil, it can reduce emphasis on restraint and increase the likelihood of escalation. There are also diplomatic implications. Describing modern conflicts using terms like crusade can reinforce narratives used by extremist groups and complicate international relations. Additionally, such framing may align with how adversaries want the conflict to be perceived, further intensifying tensions. Ultimately, if policymakers interpret current events through the lens of historical religious warfare, it can shape expectations around conflict, potentially making peaceful resolution more difficult. And that raises an important question. How much should historical narratives influence modern decision-making? Thanks for watching.